I want you to imagine something. Picture this. It's February 2026. Inside a high-tech command center in Islamabad, Pakistan's top generals are glued to satellite feeds showing Kabul. They are at war. But the enemy staring back at them isn't who you'd think. It's a monster of their own making. On February 27, 2026, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif makes this absolutely stunning announcement that just ripples across the entire region. He says point blank that Pakistan's patience is gone, and the country is now in a state of open war. Now, for decades, a statement like that could only ever mean one thing: conflict with India. But not this time.
No, the declaration of war is aimed directly at the Taliban government in Afghanistan, the very same group that Pakistan had spent decades nurturing, funding, and propping up. So how on earth did a longtime ally become a mortal enemy? Well, to understand that, we've got to rewind the clock.
It really all begins with this core idea in Pakistani foreign policy, something they call the doctrine of strategic depth. See, for Pakistan, the absolute nightmare scenario has always been a two-front war, getting squeezed between its arch-rival India on one side and a hostile, maybe even pro-India Afghanistan on the other. So back in the 1990s, when Afghanistan was just tangled up in a brutal civil war, Pakistan saw its chance, an opportunity to make sure that nightmare never, ever became a reality.
So, in 1994, Pakistan's powerful intelligence agency, the ISI, approached this little-known madrasa teacher named Mullah Omar. The deal they offered was pretty simple. Pakistan gives you the weapons, the money, the training, the whole shebang. In return, your group, the Taliban, takes over Afghanistan and acts as a friendly government. You know, a buffer. And it gives Pakistan that crucial strategic depth against India. And you know what? The plan worked perfectly. By 1996, the Taliban had captured Kabul.
For years, Pakistan played this incredibly dangerous double game. After 9/11, it publicly backed the U.S. war on terror, while at the same time secretly giving shelter to the Afghan Taliban leaders who were fighting the Americans. But this kind of balancing act, it was bound to have consequences. The very power they had cultivated started to play by its own rules, and eventually it turned on its creator. And this, right here, is where the story takes a really dark turn.
So I want you to meet the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, better known as the TTP. Think of them as the Pakistani Taliban. These are militants who fought right alongside the Afghan Taliban, but they felt completely and utterly betrayed when Pakistan sided with the United States. So they splintered off with one single chilling goal: to overthrow the Pakistani state itself.
And if you want to understand just how brutal the TTP is, you only need to know one number: 132. That's how many children, some of them were just 8 years old, were systematically murdered by TTP terrorists in 2014. They stormed the Army Public School in Peshawar, and it's still one of the absolute darkest days in Pakistan's entire history. And the violence has just been escalating terrifyingly. After the Afghan Taliban stormed back to power in 2021, the TTP, who were now enjoying a safe haven right next door in Afghanistan, just ramped up their attacks inside Pakistan. I mean, look at these numbers. The number of terrorism-related deaths almost doubled in a single year. It was pushing Pakistan right to the brink.
So this created a completely impossible situation. Pakistan's oldest friend in the region, the Afghan Taliban, was now giving shelter to Pakistan's deadliest enemy, the TTP. You can see the problem, right? It led to this geopolitical deadlock with absolutely no easy way out for anyone. Okay, so here's the deadlock in a nutshell. Pakistan was demanding that the Taliban go in and crush the TTP cells operating from Afghan soil. But the Taliban was terrified that if they did that, thousands of these hardened TTP fighters wouldn't just vanish. Nope, they'd run straight into the arms of the Taliban's biggest rival, ISIS-Khorasan, a notoriously brutal offshoot of ISIS, and that would create an even bigger threat inside Afghanistan. So neither side could give an inch.
A situation like that can't last forever. Something's gotta give. And this diplomatic dead end was bound to explode. When it finally did, it was a rapid, violent spiral from covert strikes to an all-out, declared war. It all happened so fast. In late 2025, a TTP ambush kills 11 Pakistani soldiers. Pakistan responds with something it had never done before: direct airstrikes on the capital, Kabul. The Afghan Taliban then retaliates, hitting Pakistani military posts. The whole thing just spun out of control, leading to a full-scale cross-border attack by the Taliban in February 2026, which finally forced Pakistan's hand.
And right away, the war took a devastating human toll. On March 16th, during the holy month of Ramadan, a Pakistani airstrike reportedly hit a hospital near Kabul. The Afghan government claims over 400 civilians were killed. Now, Pakistan said it was targeting terrorist infrastructure, but the images of debris and hospital beds, well, they told a truly horrifying story.
And this brings us to the ultimate, staggering irony of this entire conflict. Remember why Pakistan created the Taliban in the first place? It was all about gaining that strategic depth against India. Well, let's just see how that little strategy finally played out.
Talk about a complete and total backfire. On the one hand, you have the original goal from the 90s. Use the Taliban to create a buffer against India. And on the other hand, you have the reality of 2026. The very same Taliban is now signing trade deals and handing out major construction contracts to Indian companies. The buffer zone Pakistan wanted so badly has become a brand new zone of Indian influence.
It's just a vicious, self-destructive cycle. Pakistan creates the Taliban. The Taliban turns around and gives shelter to the TTP. And the TTP, in turn, unleashes a wave of terror against the Pakistani state, forcing it into a war against its own creation. I mean, this is a textbook case of what political scientists call blowback. And so, as this unimaginable war rages on, with no clear winner in sight, the devastating consequences of this short-sighted strategy are just laid bare for the world to see. And it leaves all of us with one really haunting question. After decades of fanning the flames, will Pakistan ever be able to put out the fire that it started?